Okay, if you're here thinking that I'm gonna give you one of those pep talks that's gonna encourage you to do something stupid that you're going to regret, probably going to regret later on, this is not it. I'm gonna give you the straight raw truth of how I experience these things. Okay, this is not one of those things that's gonna be like, oh, you have to, quit your job and do all this stuff, and then explore your opportunities, chase your dreams and stuff like that. This is gonna be one of those raw takes that's gonna give you the hard truth of the way things are, because there's a lot of lies on YouTube. There's a lot of people giving these chase your dreams advice, right? Most people are out there making videos for the sake of making videos so that they can they can get the views up. Okay, but I'm gonna give it to you straight, 100% the truth of how I experienced being on the road, right? I used to have everything. I'd say everything that most people would dream of having. I used to be somebody in a certain place. I used to be respected. I used to be the kind of person that you would, if you go into a certain community, you ask around, they would straight up point at that somebody and be like, okay, we have this person is going to solve this problem, right? Or he knows a certain something about this. But a few years ago, let me just give you a backstory of how I ended up here, right? A few years ago, I was living in Eastern Province with my uncle, right? And he was transferred to some other, to a smaller town, right? To a smaller town. We went from the city to a small town, and from there, by then I think I was just right after I finished high school, right? And I thought, well, now that I'm done with high school, it's time for me to start chasing my dreams, go to college, blah, 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 all this stuff. But unfortunately, the financial situation of that time didn't allow me to pursue those college goals, right? So my uncle was then transferred to this small town where he became the judge there, right? Because he's a judge. So he then carried us as the family, right? We went to live with him. Now, to me, most people, to me, that was like a huge step down, like a huge obstacle to what I wanted to do, right? I had these dreams that I wanted to achieve, a lot of things. I'm a very tech savvy person. I'm usually the kind of guy you go to when you want to fix something, right? So now, from YouTube, by then I was just learning about e-commerce, drop shipping, Shopify, all this cool stuff that broke out somewhere around 2015, 2016, right? And now imagine that whole the whole e-commerce stuff, internet stuff, requires you to be in a place that is, that at least has some kind of connection to people with like-minded dreams, right? Like-minded goals. So being transferred to a smaller town kind of became like an obstacle to me, right? Because then how am I going to achieve what I want to achieve? But over the years, as I learned to live in that area, in that town, I adapted, right, and built a life for myself. I eventually moved out of my uncle's house. I moved out of my parents' house, and I started living on my own, right? I started living by myself around 2018, and I started with nothing, right? I started with absolutely nothing. Like, by the time I moved out of my uncle's house, like, we were on good terms, nothing happened. Like, it was just like me feeling like, oh, I'm grown, I need to move out. So I moved out, and I went to live on my own. So I started with nothing. Literally, I had no beddings, no clothes, none of that. I left all of that. But over the years, I built myself up. I bought some household items, all this stuff, clothes, bed, mattress, all this stuff. Eventually, I ended up working with a bunch of people that connected me to a bunch of people, and I then started my own business, right? After a few years. And within just a short period of me having my shop, although I was struggling because I had my own shop, right? A stationery shop. Somebody connected me to some people, and I ended up getting some funding, right? And that kind of boosted my business a little bit up. But through all these things that I was doing, even though like it was great, I was having all this such a good time. I was having everything that anyone probably could ever dream of. I still wasn't happy because this isn't what I wanted to do, right? I already had dreams of like traveling and doing YouTube and doing not just YouTube. Like YouTube was never really my thing. I was kind of like I had a dream to be a filmmaker, right? I wanted to make movies, make film, like videos and stuff like that. So being cooped up in one small town and just doing the same thing every day. I wake up, take a bath, go down to the shop, stay there the whole day, handle a bunch of customers. And, it was just such a headache to me. So I ended up wanting to leave. What followed now was me coming up with a plan. And I remember I came across a video of this guy that cycled from South Africa, right, from Cape Town, all the way to Egypt via bicycle, right? And that was like my first introduction to like bike touring. That was my first introduction to bike touring. So after learning about bike touring, the sun is kind of like disappearing. But after learning about bike touring, I ended up coming up with an idea of like, well, hey, I can do this, right? So I planned for it for like a few months. Oh, I'd say I started planning the tour maybe a few years. That was I think around 2020, and for the next like 4 years, I was just planning this thing, like researching, doing all the research I could do. I tried to get my hands on the information all kinds of information that I could, right? And finally, last year, that was 2025, right? I decided, you know what? I'm gonna sell what I have, right? Because these YouTube gurus, YouTube professors or whatever, inspirational speakers, they give you this kind of this confidence to do something like that, and you'd start to think, hey, if he can do it, I can do it, right? But I did that. So I was like, I'm gonna sell my stuff and just go wherever the wind takes me. I bought a bike. I bought just some regular bikes. Just was just like on a budget. I didn't really have that much. Even with selling all that stuff, it was. I know it sounds like it was big, but it didn't really get that much because it was a small town. The shop was just just a regular small kind of. For the place, it was big, but on a scale of compared to other places, it was just a small business. But I sorted, gave me some money. I bought the bike, and I went on a tour, right? I went on an African tour, like bike touring, and I got to experience some of the best moments of my life. That by then it didn't feel like it was the best things that I was experiencing, because it wasn't easy. It was a hard journey, and I went there, right? I went through different towns, cities, countries, and eventually I just realized that doing that without any kind of money, it was just like it was already a failed experiment. Maybe I could have done it, I don't know, but I ended up just giving up the whole trip, thanks to my friend Sam. Shout out Sam. Sam helped with whole coming back thing. Robert, I'll see you. Yeah, so I called a bunch of friends of mine, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I tried. It didn't work out. So what am I going to do? I ended up coming back and tried to restart my life again, right? When I came back with nothing again. You know, I left with the idea that when I'm on the road, I'm gonna be making content, and you know, somehow YouTube is gonna do its thing, and I'm gonna have just enough for me to keep myself on the road until, because my whole plan was to travel for years, right? I wanted to travel for years without ever returning home. I had my passport, all this stuff planned out, and I just wanted to go and travel as much as I can without ever having to, come back and until I had what I was looking for, until I found what I was looking for, right, which is myself. Because I felt like I was cooped up in one place. I felt like I was boxed, like I was prisoned, So now I'm back home, and I started a new life, right? I stayed with a friend of mine for a couple of months when I came back, and eventually I started staying on my own. But it hasn't been that easy, because it's kind of like I'm starting from scratch again. And this time, I'm not in a place where most people would say, I would say, know me that much, right? There's no one I could call and be like, hey, can you assist me by doing this and this and this and this? Everything is up to me, right? I'm doing everything on my own. It's just one of those things where I feel lonely, but I'm happy and concerned at the same time. I'm happy and unhappy at the same time. I don't know if you can get that. If you understand what I'm talking about, right? I haven't given up the dream of cycling around the world, because cycling has been my passion since I learned how to ride a bike. I think I was in 7th grade or something. But I've always wanted to, go on a never-ending cycling trip. I just didn't know that bike touring existed until I discovered bike touring, and I went on it. I experienced so many things that I would like to talk about in other videos. If there's anything that you would like to learn about cycling in Africa, just make sure you leave the comment. Your comments in the comment section below, and I'll respond to that. But yeah, so I'm starting over again, and this time it's hard. It hasn't been easy. It's kind of like just one of those things that I would say I never saw coming, right? I never saw myself being in this situation that I'm in right now, bankrupt and stuff like that. Because yeah, at this point I'm not even like trying to hide shit anymore. Like, I'm not trying to hide my financial position, because I feel like, what's the point, right? What's the fucking point of me hiding what's already out there? But anyways, so I'm back home. That's been my experience on chasing dreams, right? I chased my dream, and I learned the hard way that what you see online, what you see on the internet, is far from reality. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think these motivational speakers, right? These motivational speakers, like, you need to choose, you need to pick people you listen to, right? You need to pick the people that you're listening to, because you think just because somebody is doing it doesn't, you think you can also do it, right? You think it's that easy. And I would also like to point out, if you are from like Africa or from my country, right? One thing I can say is that most of the things that we watch online, most of the things that we watch on YouTube, is tailored towards the Western culture, right? The Western, Western brothers and sisters. Like, it's not, most of the things are not for us, right? It's not for us. You go on a bike touring trip, and you're gonna discover that you're not gonna have the same experience as they do. People are not going to treat you the same way that they treat other people, right? The same way they treat white people is not how they're going to treat a black person. Because like to them, they see people like you every day. So what's new? Like what's so exciting about it? But then they see a white person riding a bike. It's kind of exciting to them, right? So it's one of those things that I had to learn while I was on the road. That's when I discovered that a lot of these things are tailored towards, a lot of these things that we watch, especially from, because these activities like the bike touring and stuff, like usually are done by Westerners, white people. They come to Africa, they cycle through the continent, and that's a huge achievement for them. As a black person wanting to do that, there's nothing wrong to do with wanting to do that, but you're going to have a whole different experience. People are not going to treat you the same way that they treated that white person, right? I'm just saying. Let me just end by saying that my best friend is actually white. So this is not like a target. One of my best friends is actually white. It's not a racial thing. I'm not trying to start up some racial argument here. I'm just laying out the difference between what a white person might experience compared to what we as black people might experience while cycling through Africa and going through all these dreams, all these things that we watch on YouTube, trying to imitate what they say. Like, I quit my job, I quit my 9 to 5, I quit my blah blah blah. Like, we don't have the luxury to quit that shit. We don't have the luxury to quit the 9 to 5 thing. Like, learn from my experience. If you think you can do it, you're welcome to try it. But I'm telling you right now, we don't have the luxury to try these things, right? We don't have the luxury to quit the job and just go wander about God knows where, right? That you thought you were. I thought I was having it worse, right? I thought I was having it bad until I got to experience all these things. And now I just gotta say that I learned my lesson. I hope you learned something from this video. I hope because I'm not gonna be faking it, right? On this channel, I'm not gonna be faking it. I'm gonna tell the truth of things that I've been through, things that I've witnessed with my own eyes. I have a bunch of videos coming up, and I just wanted to say that if you're watching this, thank you so much, and I hope you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in another video. Thank you.